the work is constantly fresh, but the work is constantly fresh. So you're learning all the time.
Yeah.
But I think, well, some weeks I think of that as a negative, and then some weeks I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm continually learning in this role.
Hello and welcome back to Future You, the podcast brought to you by graduate careers experts Prospects. I'm your host, Emily Slade, and in this episode, we see what it takes to work in human resources.
Hi, my name's Lauren. I'm 23 years old, based in Bristol. I've worked at Jisc now for 2.5 years, currently a HR systems and MI assistant, but I've also worked in HR operations as well. I'm studying for my level 5 CIPD at the moment, which is the intermediate HR qualification. And I'm also a network co-chair for the LGBTQIA+ network.
What's CIPD?
So it's the professional body for HR. You're going to test me here. I'm not going to be able to. Chartered Institute of People and Development, Personnel and Development. I'm pretty sure that's it.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So I'll allow it. Nice. So did you go to university?
I did go to university. I went to the University of Bristol and studied sociology.
Okay.
And I finished in 2022.
Could you study HR at university?
You can. So like I said, I'm doing the CIPD level 5 at the moment. You can do them integrated with degrees. So there's loads of different HR systems and management courses that you can do at undergrad and master's level. So that definitely is an option. And I do know people who have done it at uni and then come straight in.
Mm-hmm.
So there are loads of different routes you can take. It doesn't have to be you get experience in HR, you then go and do the qualification. You can start with the qualification and then come into HR.
Yeah, nice. It's kind of nice as well, though, that you can have a foundation of something else and still get into HR.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like my degree with sociology has sort of helped with that. Specifically with diversity and inclusion as part of HR. It really, I think it's the biggest part that links in with my degree. So it's been really helpful there to see links between stuff that you've learned. So yeah.
Brilliant.
I did HR, when they made everyone do work experience in sixth form, while I worked in the HR department 2 weeks. I really enjoyed it, but didn't really think that this was where I was going to end up.
Yeah.
I love my parents dearly, but when I finished university, or was nearly finished, I didn't want to go back to living at home. I really liked the independence from university, so I was looking for jobs. This one came up and I thought, wow, this does sort of align, it definitely does align with my degree, because sociology can apply to literally anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I saw the job come up and it was just perfect timing, really.
What was the interview process like on that?
Pretty straightforward. There was competency-based questions, and then there was also, I want to say, a sort of quiz where they gave us tasks and you basically had to prioritise which tasks you would do first and give an explanation for that.
Was it specifically a graduate role?
No, it was just a HR administrator role was the one I was applying for, but I applied for it on Prospects, so I guess in that sense it was targeted towards graduates, yeah.
Yeah, nice. What does a day in the life of HR look like?
Well, HR is so broad. So I'm in HR systems, but HR could be anything from employee relations to HR operations, which involves hiring employees and offboarding them, stuff like that. We also have learning and development, our rewards team, talent team. So it's such a big profession to work in. I specifically work in HR systems. So that's the management of our HR system, Dayforce, and also to do with all employee data that we have. So my team works in an agile methodology, which is basically we work in 2-week sprints. So we'll have a sprint planning meeting at the start of the sprint and assign out work for the whole 2 weeks. And essentially, as long as you get the work complete by the end of the 2 weeks, you're off, you go. But it's really nice because it really helps with prioritization. You know what's coming up in the pipelines. So my day looks like going through my sprint board actions, deciding what today's priorities are going to be, planning that out in my calendar. And then we have a team meeting around 9:15, I think it is, just to discuss our progress from yesterday and what today's going to look like. And then for the rest of the day, I'm just working through my tasks.
Nice. That's pretty cool. What hard skills do you rely on for your job?
I would say knowledge of HR systems. So I worked as a HR administrator before I started in the systems team, which gave me a real good background to Dayforce, our HR system, which has definitely been really helpful, a very good transferable skill that I've got. So I'd say knowledge on HR systems, knowledge on other software such as Excel and Power BI. It's really helpful. And then just generally like data analysts, like analysis skills are helpful for the role.
Cool. And what about soft skills?
I would say communication. A lot of the things that come through, we have to often like deem the requirements for the data that we're providing. So you've got to speak to loads of different stakeholders. So communication is definitely one. And then I would also say prioritization, because we obviously work in a 2-week sprint. You have to get everything done within the 2 weeks. So yeah, definitely being able to like prioritize your work and make sure that you hit those deadlines every 2 weeks.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Best piece of advice? I would say don't be afraid to ask questions. I think I found this when I first started because I had 2 weeks of experience in HR, so it was pretty little. So I was finding myself asking a lot of questions to people who've been in the team for longer. And every time I would say, I'm so sorry, they'd be like, no, don't be sorry. Everyone goes through this stage, and they'd much prefer me asking a question than not asking, making a mistake, and then asking them how to fix it. So yeah, just don't be afraid to ask questions, even though it does feel so awkward constantly badgering someone, but it's just the best way to learn.
Yeah, better in the long run.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Exactly.
Love that. What's your favourite thing about working in HR?
Oh, every day is different. I think that's what I really like. It's in the systems team or in the HR operations team. I've never had a boring day or where I've logged on and been like, oh, same old, same old. It's always different, fresh. You get to talk to a lot of different people. So yeah, I get to speak to people all across Jisc that I probably wouldn't have been able to speak to otherwise. So getting to know about the business and stuff like that. But yeah, I would say it's just so varied what we do every day. Working in the HR operations team, you work behind the service desk, so answering any employee queries that come in. So every day you're getting a flux of new things coming in, new people to help. So yeah, I'd just say the amount of variance there is in the work.
Mm-hmm. And any cons?
There's a lot of variance in the work. Yeah, so there's always stuff to learn, which is obviously great. I found that specifically in this team because a lot of our tasks come up through ad hoc requests. So you could see something once and then not see it again for a few years, which means that the work is constantly fresh, but the work is constantly fresh. So you're learning all the time.
Yeah.
But I think, well, some weeks I think that as a negative, and then some weeks I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm continually learning in this role. So little double-edged sword. Yeah. It's positive and negative. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Amazing. What advice do you have for someone that wants to enter the industry?
There are so many resources available about HR. So I would say definitely explore that. The CIPD website have a lot of like free articles, resources available, which would be good to read. Networking. There's a Facebook group called HR Ninjas, which I absolutely love. And essentially people put in questions about what they have coming up in their work and people respond, and you get to see a lot of different perspectives to things. That's one of the biggest things I've learned about in HR is as long as you're within like employment law standards, everyone can have varying opinions. So it's really interesting to go through and see what different people in the industry are thinking and opinions wise. So I would definitely say utilize all of the resources that are out there. Get on LinkedIn, add loads of people, get to see what they're doing. Just make the most of what you can, really.
Yeah. What does progression look like for you?
With my role specifically?
Yeah.
Well, there are various different ways you can progress in HR. So there is the, I want to quote unquote, traditional route where you can go from HR administration up to an advisor role, partnership team, and progress from there. But because there's so many different functions in HR, you can basically go any route you want to. I thought I was always going to follow this traditional path of administrator advisor, but the systems role came up and I'm having a great time. So you can go wherever you want in HR. That's what I've learned. And I've always asked colleagues in the team what their like career background looks like. Mm-hmm. And they always say pretty much the same thing. Everyone's career is going to look differently. And that's completely okay because HR is so vast, so vast.
Yeah.
I think at the moment, Jisc has been a great place for me to develop because I started in one area of HR. I moved, not to put myself up. But I have had quite a lot of career progression in the 2.5 years I've been here. I started as an administrator, then I moved up to senior administrator, and now I'm in HR systems. So it's shown me this company has been a place where I can definitely grow and learn as well. They've my qualification that I'm doing at the moment is an apprenticeship, and they've fully supported me doing that in my role, which has been really great.
Financially supported it as well?
Yeah.
So easy.
Yeah.
So you could see yourself staying in it for a while?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. This is my career that I think I'm going to stay in unless I win the lottery for the rest of my career, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Lauren for their time. For more information on HR and how to get into it, you can head to prospects.ac.uk or check out the show notes below. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. Thank you, as always, for listening, and good luck on your journey to future you.